Hello, my name is Brent McCune, and I will be moderating the question and answer session this afternoon. On behalf of today's sponsor, the Olathe Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank the participants for agreeing to be here today and to promote the Olathe effort, which is focused on educating Chamber members and the business communities about what will be discussed this upcoming session in Topeka. The format for this video session will include a 1-minute opening statement by the candidates, followed by a question and answer period. Candidates will be asked prepared questions on business-related topics, and candidates do not have any prior knowledge of specific questions. They will also be asked to limit their responses to 2 minutes, and the session will conclude with a 1-minute closing statement. I'd like to now introduce Mr. Merlin Ring, who is running against Senator Julia Lynn in Senate District Number 9. I now would like to ask our candidate for a 1-minute opening statement, and if you would, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what distinguishes you between you and your opponent.
Okay, first of all, let me say thank you to the Chamber for organizing this event. I think it's a fine event and an opportunity for voters to get to know positions. So thank you very much. My name again, Merlin Ring, and I grew up in Central Missouri. Farm boy with the typical background of FFA and 4-H, and went to high school in Wellington, Missouri. College at University of Central Missouri was CMSU at that time. Degree in physics there, both a bachelor's and a master's degree. I have took my first job in Lenexa at what was then Puritan Bennett, and have been working in that location ever since. My experiences as a scientist and engineer, and I have experience making real-world data-driven decisions, and based on real-world data. And I think I can bring that to the Senate. Will be a help to me in the state of Kansas.
So let's begin with our question and answer session. I'd first like to start off talking about budget situations in Kansas. For the past several years, the legislature has faced difficult budgeting choices, and for now our economic future remains uncertain. If Kansas were to face another significant revenue shortfall, how would you support balancing the budget? And if you could, be specific as you can. For example, if you support prioritizing services, what are your priorities and what would you cut? And if you're proposing to eliminate inefficiencies and waste in state government, how do you expect to find that savings?
Well, I think in any large organization like our state government, there are certainly efficiencies that can be found, and I would applaud efforts to find those efficiencies and cut costs. But I do believe that at the same time, we need to look at our budget in terms of revenue. If a family is experiencing a shortage of revenue, they usually the breadwinner will go out and look for an additional job. And I think that in addition to efficiencies and savings in government, we need to look at the other side of the equation, and that is, can we increase revenues? I believe that Kansans are willing to pay taxes if they believe they're fair and are equitable, and so I would seek a balanced solution in terms of budget problems. And obviously education has always been a top priority for me. That would be probably not the first thing I would cut, but all the cuts are very difficult, and it would require study on a case-by-case basis to ferret out those places where we could cut.
Question number 2 deals with education in Kansas, and as you know, quality public education has been a cornerstone in Johnson County and our economic prosperity. What are your views on the current state of K-12 education funding in Kansas? And how should the legislature proceed on this issue? And would you support vouchers in Kansas?
our state has experienced the biggest cut in state history in public education funding, and I think we've cut about all we can out of our education budget. There have been 7 budget cuts over the past 3 years. I think that we're going to be seeing student-pupil ratios going the wrong direction, and people are going to have to be paying more fees for extracurricular activities, and I'm not in favor of further cuts in public education funding.
Our third question, we'd like to ask you, what are your views on the current state tax policy?
Okay, the current state tax policy in Kansas is not good, I believe. The legislature passed a tax plan which cut taxes on the wealthy and corporations, and the fact is that this tax cut is threatening to create a $2 to $3 billion deficit within the next few years. This tax plan removes the upper income tax bracket for wealthy individuals and requires that corporations that take their revenue as profits in terms of wages do not pay any tax at all. I talked with one constituent, a young lady who's a lawyer. She told me her accountant explained this to her, and her reaction was, well, that's not fair. And I've heard it called tax relief for lawyers. And of course, it's not only lawyers. I don't want to single them out, but there's all kinds of professionals, doctors, veterinarians, accountants, that will avoid paying taxes. And the benefits for Kansas are very questionable. For example, the Institute for Tax and Economic Policy has shown that no tax states have not outperformed the states with income tax, and so therefore we also tried this under the Bill Graves administration and was not successful in creating jobs. So I think our tax policy is going the wrong direction.
Another important topic in recent legislative sessions has been illegal immigration. How do you believe Kansas should proceed, if at all?
Well, immigration, of course, as we'll all agree, is a complicated question, but I think in terms of immigration, we need to look at both sides of the equation. There's the supply and demand. First of all, the supply would be the undocumented workers who are coming to Kansas to work, the illegal undocumented workers. That would be the supply side. The demand side, of course, is employers in Kansas who hire the undocumented workers. So any kind of a solution that we might come up with has got to involve both sides of both the supply and the demand side of the issue. There needs to be protections for the workers that they're not exploited, and if there is a legitimate need for temporary low-wage workers that Kansans cannot or will not fill these jobs, then we need to establish that with our business community and provide them with some legal means to work in Kansas. So I think, again, it's an issue that we need to come together on, both employers and the people who would advocate for undocumented immigrant workers.
And now our final question. Recently, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the federal health care reform law that requires states to either implement their own state exchange for selling health insurance or be required to use the federal exchange. Do you support the passage of a state exchange in Kansas?
I do. I'm on record as supporting the Affordable Care Act, and I won't back away from that. When you look at the Affordable Care Act point by point, most people agree that it's a good thing and good for Kansas that young people can stay on their parents' policies through age 26. I think everyone agrees, good thing, that there are no limits on lifetime coverage, no lifetime cap for coverage, a good thing, that you cannot be denied for pre-existing conditions, a good thing, that insurance companies have to spend at least 80 to 85% of their revenue for health care. If not, the insured get a rebate. That's a good thing. And I cannot believe that we have a former governor and insurance commissioner who went to Washington and helped implement the Affordable Care Act with experience in insurance, that she would not be looking after the citizens of her former state. So what I am against is the perception that people have of the Affordable Care Act. I think there's been a lot of misinformation about the Affordable Care Act. For example, in my canvassing, I had one young man say, a business owner, that he couldn't support me. I would vote Democratic, and he didn't believe he should have to provide health care for his employees. Well, it's not true, and the small business owner does not have to provide health care unless he has more than 50 employees. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about what is involved in the Affordable Care Act. Yeah, but I stand for it and for the insurance exchanges. It does make health care affordable. It will make health care affordable for all Kansans, and I believe we should get behind it. The Supreme Court has ruled it legal, and we need to get on with other things.
That concludes our question and answer session. I'd now like to ask the candidate, if they would, to take 1 minute as a closing statement.
Okay, thank you again. My closing statement. Well, I got into this race. It was a last-minute thing. I'm new to politics, but I feel strongly about the issues, and felt like it was time to step out and stand up for my beliefs. And so I got into this race, and I want to do my best. I think that I offer a truly new voice and independent voice for the 9th District. The incumbent has a statement on her website that government is like a baby, that with an alimentary canal on one end and a big appetite and a lot of irresponsibility on the other end. I think that's an attitude that is not a good one to bring to government. I like to say that my opponent and Governor Brownback is seeking less government. I think we need less government of the kind that they provide. Evidence of that are the tax plan, which is what I would call irresponsible, and the failure of the legislature to redistrict. So I will put ideology aside and will work for the values and beliefs of the 9th District, which I believe I can represent better than the incumbent.